Vampire Academy. Author Rochelle Mead. Chapter 2, Part 2, page 17. Our walk of shame mercifully ended through our next setting, Headmistress Carva's office. Didn't really improve things. The old hag looked exactly like I remembered, sharp-nosed and gray-haired. She was tall and slim, like most Mori, and had always reminded me of a vulture. I knew her well because I spent a lot of time in her office. Most of our escorts left us once Lissa and I were seated, and I felt a little less like a prisoner. Only Alberta, the captain of the school's guardians, and Dimitri stayed. They took up positions along the wall, looking static and terrifying, just as their job description required. Kairova fixed her angry eyes on us, and opened her mouth to begin what would be no doubt be a major beep session. A deep, gentle voice stopped her. Valissa. Startled, I realized there was someone else in the room. I didn't know it. Careless for a guardian, even a novice one. With a great deal of effort, Victor Dashwood rose from a corner chair. Prince Victor Dashkov. Lissa sprang up and ran to him, throwing her arms around his frail body. Uncle, she whispered. She sounded on the verge of tears, and she tightened her grip. With a small smile, he gently patted her back. You have no idea how glad I am to see you safe, Valissa. He looked toward me. And you too, Rose. I nodded back, trying to hide how shocked I was. He had been sick when we left, but this was horrible. He was Natalia's father, and only about 40 or so, but he looked twice that age. Pale, withered, hands shaking. My heart broke watching him. With all the horrible people in the world, it didn't seem fair that this guy should get the disease that was going to kill him young and ultimately keep him from becoming king. Although not technically her uncle, the Mori used family terms very loosely, especially the royals. Victor was a close friend of Lissa's family and had gone out of his way to help her after her parents had died. I liked him. He was the first person I was happy to see here. Kairov let them have a few more moments, then stiffly drew Lissa back to her seat. Time for the lecture. It was a good one of Kairova's the best, which was saying something. She was a master at them. I swear that was the only reason she'd gone into the school's administration, because I had yet to see any evidence of her actually liking kids. The rant covered the usual topics: responsibility, reckless behavior, self-centeredness, blah. I merely found myself spacing out, alternatively pondering the logistics of escaping through the window in her office. But when the tirade shifted to me, well, that's when I tuned back in. You, Miss Hathaway, broke the most sacred promise among our kind, the promise of a guardian to protect the Mori. It is a great trust, a trust that you violated by selfishly taking the princess away from here. The Streeter would love to finish the Dragomors. You nearly enabled them to do it. Rose didn't kidnap me. Lissa spoke before I could hear her voice and calm. Despite her uneasy feelings, I wanted to go. Don't blame her. Miss Karvova tisked at both of us and paced the office, hands folded behind her narrow back. Miss Dragomore, you could have been the one who orchestrated the entire plan for all I know, but it was still her responsibility to make sure you didn't carry it out. If she'd done her duty, she would have notified someone. If she'd done her duty, she would have kept you safe. I snapped. I did do my duty, I shouted, jumping up from a chair. Dimitri and Blair both flinched, but left me alone since I wasn't trying to hit anyone. Yet, I did keep her safe. I kept her safe when none of you, I made a sweeping gesture around the room, could do it. I took her away to protect her. I did what I had to do. You certainly weren't going to. Through the bond, I felt Lissa try to send me calming messages, again urging me not to let anger get the best of me. Too late. Kairova stared at me, her face blank. Miss Hathaway, forgive me if I fail to see the logic of how taking her out of a heavily guarded, magically secured environment is protecting her. Unless there's something you aren't telling us. I bit my lip. I see. Well then, by my estimation, the only reason you left, aside from the novelty of it, no doubt, was to avoid the consequences of the horrible destructive stunt you pulled just before your disappearance. No, that's not, and that only makes my decision much easier, as the Mori princess must continue here at the academy for her own safety. But we have no such obligations to you. You will be sent away as soon as possible. My cockiness dried up. What? Alyssa stood up beside me. You can't do that. She's my guardian. She is no such thing particularly, since she isn't even a guardian at all. She's still a novice. But my parents, I know what your parents wanted. God rest their souls. But things have changed. Miss Hathaway is expendable. She doesn't deserve to be a guardian, and she will leave. I stared at her, unbelievable to what I'm hearing. Where are you going to send me? To my mom in Nepal? Did she even know I was gone? Or maybe you'll send me off to my father. Her eyes narrowed at the bite of the last word. When I spoke again, my voice was cold. I barely recognized it. Or maybe you're going to try to send me off to be a blood whore. Try that, and we'll be gone by the end of the day. Miss Hathaway, she hissed. You are out of line. They have a bond. Dimitri's low voice, accented voice broke the heavy tension, and we all turned toward him. I think Korolev had forgotten he was there, but I hadn't. His presence was way too powerful to ignore. He was still against the wall, looking like some sort of cowboy sentry in the ridiculous long coat of his. He looked at me and not Lissa, his dark eyes straight through me. Rose knows what Lissa's feeling, don't you? I, at least, had the satisfaction of seeing Corva off guard as she glanced between us and Dimitri. No, that's impossible. That hasn't happened in centuries. It's obvious, he said. I suspected as soon as I started watching them. Neither Lissa nor I responded, and I averted my eyes from his. This is a gift, muttered Victor from the corner. A rare and wonderful thing. The best guardians always have that bond, added Dmitri, in the stories. Kairova's outrage returned. Stories that are centuries old, she explained. Surely you aren't suggesting me let her stay at the academy after everything she's done. He shrugged. She might be wild and disrespectful, but she has potential. Wild and disrespectful? I interrupted. Who the beep are you anyway? Outsourced help? Guardian Belovic is the princess's guardian now, she said Koravan. Her sanctuary guardian. You got cheap foreign labor to protect Lissa? That was pretty mean of me to say, particularly since most Mori and their guardians were Russian or Romanian. Decent, but the comment seemed clever at the time, and it really was. And it wasn't like I was one to talk. I mean, I might have been raised in USA, but my parents were foreign-born. My vampire mother was Scottish, red hair with ridiculous accent, and I'd been told my Mori dad was Turkish. The genetic combination had given me my skin the same color as the inside of an almond, along with what I like to think was semi-exotic princess features. Big dark eyes, and hair so deep brown that it usually looked black. I wouldn't have minded inheriting the red hair, but we take what we get.